Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to NDISCO'S Village Meeting Podcast. How on a day? Can you imagine that we are almost at the end of April and the year is almost at an end? Oh, well, we must make, you know, the best of the rest of the year. And I will continue to hammer on the fact that each day is borrowed. And that means we must continue to do our best, to live our best life, and to live every day as if it's the last. On that token, I warmly welcome you again. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, or maybe I hope you are doing your best to smile, to laugh, and to keep yourself busy while trying to move the world around you forward, move yourself forward, no matter what. And today we have an interesting topic that the questions came out of a question asked again, as usual. Before we delve into that, though, um, again, this is your hostess, Dr. Maslin and M.OPARAOJI. I always itch when I'm in front of the camera. I don't know why. But pardon me for my fingers going up and down. I always gesticulate when I talk, but I try to stay away from that. But now the itches, so I beg your pardon. Um, Again, like most of the topics are from questions asked, if not all. Um, Today, I want to start with a kind of public service announcement. Something sometimes we take for granted of the things around us. Somebody reminded me the other day that this is the season for um, renewal and things growing and the trees renewing, planting season and all that. We will have to take precautions of the things around us, other things created by God that we think are our enemies, but at the same time, they think we are their enemies. So, what am I talking about? I'm talking about the fact that, according to data out there, the other crawlers um, that we have displaced, we have moved away from their original abode to make accommodation for ourselves, like the trees we fell, the bushes that are cleared, to build more and more houses, are creating homelessness for the creatures of those areas, the rats, the ants, the snakes, the crocodiles, and all that. And they are now coming closer to the homes of, that's their home and that humans occupy. So be careful out there. There is increase in all these things because there's a lot of developments all over the world, whether in subtropical, tropical, and everywhere else, um, including overseas. There are some states and some regions that are really more fertile to these, kinds of creatures in the environment, and there are others where they don't exist. So the caution, for example, if you're in Texas, Florida, and all that, you are always hearing people saying to you, be cautious of the rodents, to be careful of a lot of flies within several months, especially from April, March, April, till certain times after summer. So you get the question of looking twice in your shoes before you put your feet in, keeping an eye on your surroundings, even bringing your trash can in or out to look at if there is anything hidden anywhere, even under your car and everything. So, and make use of the excavator. I'm sorry, the insecticide people I forgot the name. They have a name. And to come and do what they do and spray some things or um, put prevention aspects there because they save lives. Um, we've had, for example, in Florida and other areas, Louisiana, and many more outside there, where um, these crawlers come into the house or eat babies and all that and bite and kill human beings because of their venoms. And we have also heard back in Africa or some other areas, Asia and all, how they get bitten sometimes and most of them fatal. So the onus is on us to be careful what we touch and what we do. And there are certain times when even if you take precautions, things do happen. So the onus is on you to, before these things happen, understand what your own obligations are. The obligation is to be ready, to know, have an idea, because you have a small window to react before you seek medical attention because you have a window of minutes. Whether you know what it is or what is not, whether, for in case of snakes, whether they're poisonous or not, you don't wait to know that. You take all the precautions. And yes, some people are like, are there snakes overseas? Yes, there are snakes everywhere in the world. So your onus is to take your precaution, know what to do when these things happen, and react to those because that small window is your window, between life and death. So God watches over us, but sometimes we also have to watch over ourselves and help God watch over us. And that is my aspect of public announcement to that. We got to be cautious. Things are exploding as we go. The exterminators, that's the word I was looking for. Um, you got to engage them, but also know that even if they apply all these that they do monthly, it doesn't stop uh, the crawlers from coming close because they are trying to reclaim their lands as well. Having said that, I need to move to the topic of the day. And this came about again. A lot of questions came with the Pope coming to Africa. So when the Pope left, I got a call from two of my colleagues at work. One I used to work with, and the other one most recently. And both of them came, their questions, were at the same point of asking, oh, Maslina, I didn't know that Africa is so developed. Wow, look at the churches, look at the streets, look at the hotels, look at the buildings, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, these are very well educated human beings, let me tell you that. And I was taken a little bit aback, a little bit back because even some people in the Africa, where they call the backward continent or whatever, we seem to know more about the rest of the world than the rest of the world knowing about us. And in as much as, yeah, things like that don't really affect me because I call it ignorance of what they should know. But then, again, I am a daughter of the globe, but I'm also African. And that hit me a little bit as awkward that all these years when I come back and tell them I travel and I come back and give them gifts from Africa and tell them stories of what I want, they still think I climbed on the back of something to get to from one tree to the other and all that. You guys know the story. I'm not going there. But then when they saw pictures, videos, and things of where the Pope went, what the Pope saw, even the um, uh, uh, setups, the structures set up in place of religious settings happening in Africa. They're like, wow, we didn't know there are so many Catholics. Yeah, we have a lot of Catholics in Africa. we have young population in Africa. And if you go back to a few of my old episodes, whether in series one or series two, you will find where I talked a lot about Africa and what makes up Africa and what is Africa is all about. For those of you who still wondering, what is Africa? They should go back to those episodes and know more about us, what we do, what we are, who we are. So from their questions, I send them back to those officers to say, hey, we have skyscrapers, we have colleges. Actually, Africa comes first in many, many instances, including the first university of the world, the first religious setting of the world. We had kind of religious knowledge before Christianity set forth in. And I saw the other day I talked about African traditional religion. So the Pope coming to Africa, and one of them said to me, "Oh, if that is the poorest aspect of Africa, wow! The richest must be richest. Yeah, we call them the poorest of Africa because of a lot of things, but what you saw wasn't really poor. People you saw weren't really poor. They may be poor in material stuff compared to if you don't have, you cry about. They don't cry about those things. That's why sometimes they're happy with the little they have. So, um, the reason why I started this topic, and I'm going to send them copies, is one of them said, Marcelina, I expected to see some animals running around, the Pope and the people like elephants and monkeys and all that. I didn't see any. Where are the zoos? I said, yeah, you call them. They are at the zoos. You see, we have, the game reserves. I've never seen a monkey close to me since I was born and raised before I left the soil. And I have never gone back to see any. I've never seen an elephant face to face except in the zoos. So I don't know where you guys get all these stories about the animals roaming on the streets of Africa. So today I wanted to share a little bit with them and wonder why, with all the advancement we've gotten, we've gone into, with all that we have tried to do, would people still look down on Africa, disrespect Africa, as if we're no longer anything? So we got to go back. And so I came up with some ideas because I had to look into why people still um, um, looking down on Africa. So I went with let's see if I can do this. Um, so this became my topic for the day. I thought that no matter the efforts Africa and Africans put in, we still looked down on. We still are disrespected. Why? So, and in the question of why, if we can find out why, how could such a narrative be changed? Because our younger ones need not to be living still under that cloak of the old. They need to get their heads above water because they are trying. Some of them are trying really hard, but still, that stigma that is holding them down is making people not recognize what they can do. And this also happens for those of them in diaspora that they may mentioning of their pronunciation of their names or the accent puts them at another level where they are more capable than some of the people who are trying to, you know, uh, uh, review their statuses and all that. So that's my question. Why are we looked upon? So as I was doing that, I first of all looked at the factors that we should consider in this discussion. Why are they looking down on us? The first that I found was the history of colonialism. It hasn't left us yet. It's gradually leaving, but it hasn't. And while it was with us, it had lasting economic and social impact on us. And I have it in that color because this is something that we still trying to find a way to get over that. And some of the leaders of the African nation, some African nations who want to, push back on that are being also pushed back against because the world wants what it wants. But Africans should realize that, if you don't push back, people will continue to flog you down. So that is a reason. The one I have in yellow, number two, stereotypes and media portrayals. Um, and this is where it hits us. No matter what we do, no matter what, you see, sometimes the media, they go out, the people, they go out to hunt for news in Africa. What they pick up are the slums, the bad aspect. They never go to where there is really good progress. Places actually that are better than where they themselves come from, these journalists. So the stereotypes, those are holding us down. And I think this is where we as Africans, whether you are home and abroad, could really help remove this stigma. You could help tell the world and your children, no, we're better than what they are showing out there by putting yourself, because it is a saying that if you do not, toot your own horn, nobody else will toot it for you. So the moment you keep putting yourself down, the world would put you down. Don't even, tolerate how, the way you accept what is put on you is the how people tolerate you. So don't do that. Okay. Numbers 3 to 5. Limited access to education and resources that hinder development is on us, Africans, our leadership, the internal people, and not just the leadership, the followers. We putting that on ourselves. Okay, if you have an access to go to school and you don't, the onus is on you. Political instability, that is our biggest problem because God has endowed Africa with a lot of resources, beautiful, that cannot be found, some of them, in the rest of the world. But we are misusing the opportunity. We have political unrest here and there, our leaders really not doing well by us. Some of them are there, they don't want to go away, they don't want to leverage to the younger ones. And I'm not going to be, that's not the topic for the day. The other one in red is the economic disparity. Yes, this comes about by the gap between the rich and the poor is so wide that I don't even know if some areas in Africa we have middle class or middle certain, because the same number four, the political instability, the leaders are looting, and their dogs and their cats are looting all the blessings that God bestowed on Africa for their own selves, for their selfish selves. And they don't think they can just spare some of those crumbs from their table to the rest of the masses suffering. And so numbers 3 to 5 are of our own making, the Africans. And nobody else from outside is coming in to solve that problem for us. I always hear people say, oh, tell the leader of this nation or the leader of that nation to come in and help us. They can't, because if they come, they're coming for your goods. They're not coming for your good, they're coming for your goods. So they will be, oh, sorry, we're going to help you with our left hand and your right hand, they're grabbing all they can grab. No, they're not going to help you. And it's not going to be for free. So I heard the other time the Pope came, everybody, someone like, oh, he should go to the north, he should go north, he should go and stop. No, he had delegated some religious leaders to your nation, every nation in Africa, to talk peace, to talk, and, straighten things out. He doesn't have to do that himself. So we hold ourselves down. We are doing those ourselves. If we can take out that, the world will then start looking in and maybe respecting us. I don't know. Number 6, global inequalities perpetuate negative views. Yeah. So when they see that you're not putting anything out there for the world and they are coming in to do for you, that's the inequality. They look down on you. You're not contributing. And that happens in anything. If you're a member of a family, you are not contributing. People look down on you that you are a lefu, like we call it in Igbo language, and you're not I didn't do anything. And so that conception, yeah, the misconception here is that you are good for nothing. And so Africa is looked at that despite the fact that that's not the true picture. They want to create what they want to create, the perception they want to create in order to perpetuate that negative views. So, who looked into that? So there is this guy, Dr. Adam Han, and in collaboration with a group called Africa No Filter, and also in collaboration with US and some German researchers, got hold of a few participants, some student participants, about 1,126 of them from the UK and the US. And they asked this group to write down 3 thoughts that came to their minds when they think of Africa. They also brought additional 863 who were asked to examine how to reshape these thoughts from this other group, from negative to positive, if there's any. So the report, after some time, is showing that half, 57.9%, mentioned wildlife about Africa. They mentioned nature about Africa. But many of them described the continent as hot. Yeah, we have hot weather. We also have cold. Dangerous. Ooh, and uninhabitable. See, that brings that question of my friend coming in like, I didn't see any animals when the Pope was there, roaming around. I'm like, that's not how we live. Okay, at least I go to Africa as often as possible. From birth, I never saw animals roaming around like that, except domestic animals. And, this is a continent that has not just blacks, it has whites also. So we have white Africa, black Africa, that's the cradle of civilization, and that's how humanity started. So I'm not sure why that is the case. So apart from seeing this respondents seeing Africa as hot, dangerous, and uninhabitable, they also looked at the society and its economy as linked to corruption, which is true, instability, which is true, and poverty. Okay? The poverty coming about from all the circumstances I talked about before. So they looked at us like that instead of as it's a continent of culture and modernity. No matter what is done, that is all the case. So these and more of what they mentioned had accounted for the respondents' reduced interest in Africa. The African goods, the African cultural experience, and all that. So that's why it really gladdens my mind now that when you open the social media, you find some people from other parts of the world venturing into Africa, solo travelers, and reporting to the world that what I've been hearing is not what I am encountering on ground. And that's opening a lot of eyes. And also, some Africans have taken it upon themselves, at least some of us are trying one way or the other to show that Africa as a continent is a place that is livable, full of warmth and more. And hopefully the Pope's visit showed those aspects that people thought, oh, were really bad. It's not as they think. Okay, so Dr. Adam Han and his groups and collaborators, they found that, the report that they got from the respondents showed that Africa still exists as an abstract concept for many of these people. One that is defined by animals, hardship, than by people, the progress or potentials. We have that. Having the youngest population in the world now makes us even much more progressive and having more potential than ever. this is not just what they think, it's how their thoughts were shaped by what they see in the media. By so doing, they're not willing to buy anything African because they think everything coming from it is inferior, okay, or engage in our cultures. But it will gladdens my mind now that people now, an Asian person can cook okra soup or vegetable soup or enjoy amala and enjoy, ofo. And you see a lot of that coming on. Africa is beginning, now they are deep into couture, fashion, music. So something is changing. The paradigm is shifting a little bit, but the pendulum is not swinging as really widely as it should happen. So many factors or many actors in the developmental aid and charity sector seem to actively perpetuate stereotype about Africa. I'm one of those voices that say, "Stop helping us. Your aid is not aiding your aid to Africa is not helping anybody." And because when you see these people ask for and they get $1, the only thing that in most cases you will hear going to Africa is 20 cents. They use 80 cents for, yeah, it's a bureaucratic coverage and which is to me balderdash. So these people they will find the poorest, the sickest, the most, bad situations of an African to showcase in order to beg for money. We don't want your aids that way, whether it's for religious or any other. But yeah, if you can help like you help on the other nation without portraying them as being so helpless, which is not what Africa is. So these reports as to the base approach all have net negative effect. These reduce actual trade and engagement with firms, with everybody, organizations. Before now, you ask somebody to come and invest in Africa, they're like, no, of all these things, because we have been portrayed as a no-go area. Crime is not worse in Africa than any other places. Everything that they point out that is bad in Africa or about Africa is not the worst of situations than any other place. So the report also concludes that introducing, and I highlighted that in green because we want to move forward. I don't want questions from my colleagues as I had recently when that, a bishop came like, oh, we didn't know you guys had all that. Yeah, we do. So I want it to be positive and accurate. And some of my friends who really know and want to enjoy Africa want to go to visit. I tell them I'm not going to be the one taking you. There are situations where you can take yourself, and there are tours. Go enjoy Africa. Feel free, to go out there. So in order to make positive and accurate narratives come from Africa, not just correcting false ones, because there's a lot of false ones. There are lots of false ones out there. We can shift attitudes to increase interest in Africa's cultures, travel, products. Many have tried to do it. I've been doing that and a lot more by all of us, making sure that we are sharing that Africa is not a bad place to be. Okay. So my question is to my fellow Africans, whether you are now a dual citizen of any other country or you are a free, you go and come back, and or you live permanently in Africa, on African soil, help change the narratives from negative to positive. When my friends ask me these questions, and they're surprises, I didn't rebook them because they don't know. It's ignorance. They don't know, so they needed some knowledge. So I sent them some of the things I had put on my podcast about Africa for them to just go and look into that. I sent them also the talk I gave to young Africans all over the world about what their contributions should be about Africa. And it's also on my podcast to look at. And I also I support what Moki Makura, executive director of Africa No Filter, the same body that collaborated with Dr. Adam Hahn and the US and German researchers. He said, we now have had data showing that the stories told about Africa and the ones left untold, because they are trying to beat you down, have real world consequences. They do. This research is a wake-up call that they just conducted and a roadmap that tells us we must go beyond economic data and media headlines. We must refrain from how we talk about Africa to truly unlock its potential and opportunities. And I agree totally with what is being said here. And what are our obligations as Africans? You sometimes hear fellow Africans tell their children, oh, don't go there, Africa is bad. I'm from Nigeria. I have heard fellow Nigerians say to their children, oh, don't go, they will kidnap you. Don't do this, don't do that. Oh, no, that's a bad country. We are not going. And children get scared about their own home from home. Yeah, they may be born, they may be hyphenated all about us, but they are one of the few, humans on earth that have that opportunity to call somewhere else home as well. So the onus is on us to make sure they understand. And I have seen some of these young ones go visit even for once, and they want to go again and again because what they are hearing from the outside world, from social media, from some of their parents, are really false narratives they see. And that is why one of my episodes dealt with Dirty December, because some of them, yeah, the ordinary times they're in school, but December is a holiday period where Christianity has taken over enjoying the Christmas period. But not only that, culturally, it's a time that everybody comes together. It's a family time. And moreover, you see even our Muslim counterparts and Jewish counterparts also enjoy Christmas and Passover. And even African Americans that were, some of them that had gone into other settings due to slavery, they enjoy the Kwanzaa, all bringing back together Mother Africa. So my talk today, I apologize for it being a little lengthy, is to remind us that we all have an obligation to sell the narrative. We're not even selling. We are telling it as it is. Africa is not as bad as it's being portrayed out there. We challenge those negative portrayals. And I have done that and I will continue to do that because, everybody that does something negative towards you or another entity, they're doing that for their own benefits. Okay? Nobody does anything for free or for nothing. Whatever everybody is perpetuating or telling against or for their own is for their own benefit. So be ready to counter, push back, and tell them, no, that narrative is wrong. So I hope today there's a takeaway from my fellow Africans that you are the ones to sell yourself. You are the ones to counter the negative narratives about Africa. You are the one to take stuff home. You are the one to resolve the things that are not going well. So if you are calling in the case that people are saying, oh, you are corrupt, you are this or that, they may be right because now within ourselves, we know ourselves. There are certain things we are not supposed to be doing for the good of the community, for the good of the states, for the good of the whole country. Why don't we start there, taking accountability, okay, into question? Those people we are asking to lead us, are they leading well? If there are some things like money or actions that are bestowed on them to carry out in their communities, our own honors is to ask the question, are they doing that? If there are some things earmarked or eyemarked and they haven't produced them, we are neglecting our own environment if we don't ask the question, what are you doing for us? Okay? And so this is because it's not for even those of us now, we are almost out of the picture. All these we're doing are for the young ones, our tomorrow. They need to know the right from the left and the right from the wrong. They are confused as it is because they live in a society where they are being told to do things sheepishly that they don't know. They don't know the right from the wrong. And even when they know, their elders, their government have really taken so much away from them that they are now crawling to find air where they're supposed to have been given all types of oxygen that they need to survive, to take care of us as we are all getting old. So whatever you do, think about tomorrow, think about what the world is thinking and how they look at us. We are beyond that period where we should still remain disrespected. We should be beyond that. Okay? So this is where I will end our talk today. And again, like I said, a public service announcement, look around you. Um, Make sure, most important thing is that things are bound to happen, that no matter what precautions you take, things are bound. But the most important thing is, do you know what to do when these things happen? Because there is a short window between staying alive and, and going south. And that's talking out. Thank you for listening. And as I talk to you soon, have a wonderful, wonderful end of the month. And good morning again, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. This is your hostess, Dr. Maslin, NDISCO'S, signing off. Thank you.